the front lines of the abortion battle as Milwaukee police arrest over 100 protesters. Battle lines are drawn outside Milwaukee clinics where abortions are done, but those lines are crossed, and Milwaukee police arrest more than 100 protesters.
Lord, we call forth the ministering spirits of those babies.
Tonight there is an uneasy calm as pro-life activists rally and pro-choice activists prepare for tomorrow's defense. Those on both sides of the issue are catching their breath tonight after a day of protests and a day of arrests. Good evening, I'm Vince Gibbons.
And I'm Joyce Garbasiak. Thank you for joining us. Both sides are claiming victory, even as they plot their strategy in the next battle in this emotional war. Tonight, pro-life demonstrators rallied at Centennial Hall after 110 of them were arrested for trying to block the entrance to a clinic at 86th and Brown Deer Road. They say they won today's battle because patients saw the protests and stayed away from the clinics. Pro-lifers say no protests are scheduled for tomorrow. They say it will be a day of prayer. Now a story from behind the abortion battle lines about some of the youngest soldiers.
Roughly a quarter of the people arrested today were children. As young as 7 years old, they were taken into police custody along with adults for trying to block an abortion clinic. As Charles Benson explains tonight, it's part of the overall strategy for their victory.
It's a scene some might find hard to accept. Children being handcuffed and arrested during an abortion protest. But pro-life parents say it's something the kids wanted to do.
We have never said, come on, let's do that, if that's what you mean. It has always been strictly a free will choice. What a word, choice.
Grant Friberg of St. Paul, Minnesota is here with his children. His 16-year-old daughter, Amberly, was one of the kids arrested. She received a $55 disorderly conduct citation and spent about 7 hours in police custody. How many times have you been arrested?
I think 5 or 6.
Why do you do this?
Because I know what they're doing in this clinic, so it's wrong.
The kids use a buddy system during the protests and while in police custody to watch out for the younger children. A chaperone is assigned to make sure all kids who are arrested are released and accounted for.
Where's your mom?
In jail.
And where have you been?
Rescuing.
In fact, Evan's 9-year-old brother and 11-year-old sister were all taken into police custody during the protests.
I'm sort of afraid sometimes, but it's not too bad, and it's worth going through with to save the baby.
Pro-life kids say they'll continue to protest. They say if other kids can have abortions, it only makes sense to have kids trying to stop them. Charles Benson, TV6 News, Milwaukee.
Milwaukee officials tell TV6 that children under 14 years old were released without a citation. But juveniles, 14 years or older, were given a $55 citation and told to appear in court at a later date.
Pro-choice activists are also claiming victory tonight. They say they were able to keep the clinics open despite the pro-life protesters. At times, the coalition of clinic protectors surrounded one building 3 deep.
This is about keeping this clinic open, and it's still open, and it's going to stay open.
We have held this clinic. We have shown absolutely positively that Milwaukee is pro-choice.
Pro-choice organizers say they will put up a defense at the clinics tomorrow, even though pro-life activists say no protests are planned.
With more than 100 protesters arrested today alone, officials have made special arrangements for handling the huge caseload. They are all entitled to due process, of course, so authorities have set up the old Richard Street Armory as a temporary jail and courtroom. Most folks arrested were cited with disorderly conduct or trespassing, and they face fines of up to $500. Most of them pleaded not guilty today, and they either posted their bail or they'll spend a day or two in the House of Correction. Protests are also putting a strain on Milwaukee police, but the chief says his officers are prepared for it.
The remainder of the city is presently being policed under ordinary circumstances. There are sufficient personnel.
Milwaukee police have also opened a rumor control hotline to prevent misinformation from 6 in the morning until 6 at night. Here's the number, 935-7155.
So tonight, here is where the Milwaukee abortion protests stand. Police say 110 protesters are arrested for trying to block the entrance to one Milwaukee clinic. 28 of the people arrested were children, and the youngest was 7 years old. Authorities are using the old Richard Street Armory for a temporary jail and courtroom for the protesters. And pro-life activists say no protests are planned for tomorrow, but pro-choice activists will defend the clinics then.
Next time you're